go.
Doctor, give me the news. I got a bad case of loving you.
Hello, everybody. Thank you for being here for another terrific edition of Deborah Kobylt Live. We've got a great guest, and she's on the phone right now. We've got Doctor Daliah Wachs. Thank you so much for being here, Dr. Daliah.
No, thanks for having me. Very cool. Thank you.
Everybody knows Dr. Daliah. I've heard you on more shows, but this is going to be the show for you to be heard on, Dr. Daliah. I mean, you are
Absolutely.
you're a nationally syndicated radio host and a board certified family physician. I found it very interesting that as a kid you wanted to do stand-up. You also wanted to be a doctor, and now look at you. You're doing both.
Oh, my gosh.
You're performing
Yeah,
and you're a
and
doctor.
it's so much fun. I tell you, patients get scared, and so anytime a doctor could infuse some humor or some personal anecdotes to make them feel more comfortable, I think it helps deliver medicine a hell of a lot easier. It's kind of that spoonful of sugar concept.
Can I call you Daliah? You know, when you're talking to a doctor, you always want to be like, oh, doctor. So anyway, Daliah,
Please.
I don't like going to the doctor. They petrify me. My female doctors scare me. My male doctors. I mean, it's really a tough thing because not a lot of doctors have terrific bedside manner, and they don't really hear you because they must hear 100 people come in with the same ailments. But the truth is we really don't have the same ailments, and everything we're coming in to ask you is always a little different. And I just wish there were more people out there like you who had a little humor about it and listened. So, Thank you.
You are so sweet. No, it is. It is pretty frightening. I mean, for me, I can't stand getting ready for the doctor because I have to shave my legs, and I paint my nails, and I do more primping than I used to do for a date, and it's frustrating. I wish I could just, I try to, starve so my cholesterol is down. It is anxiety producing. So thank you. That's a great compliment.
You're right about that. You do. You have to get so ready. It's like going on a date, especially if your doctor's kind of cute. Anyway, I have a little clip of you doing your thing on YouTube. Can we go to that? Which one should we? We have a few of them. You are hilarious, and this is from your show. Do you want to do Dr. Daliah getting a mammogram? Can we go to that?
Sure.
I got a lot of people telling me, well, Daliah, again, I don't even know what my report says. My doctor says it's normal. I don't know what it means. Well, what I've decided to do is to take you guys through my personal mammogram, all right? We'll go through my mammogram line by line. I got yesterday's mail here. Let me pull it up, and we will go through the mammogram. Here we go. Okay, I got my mail here. Past due, disconnect notice. Here, radiology services. Radiology. Okay, hold on. Let me open this up. Going through a mammogram.
It's terrifying,
It's very important.
right?
Oh, I couldn't hear the feed,
line
but my
by
guess
line.
is it wasn't a good report. That's my guess.
All right, here we go. All right, patient, Daliah Wachs, that's me. Birthday, June 16, 19, you guys don't need to know the year. All right. Patient is a middle-aged female. I'm going to put in middle-aged female who presents for yearly mammogram. Patient was in a gown and disclosed that she had shaved in preparation of today's procedure. I only mentioned that to the front desk receptionist. That's a little private. I didn't think they'd put this in my personal mammogram report. I need to.
I never had anybody in my personal mammogram report talking about how I grew myself.
Bilateral breasts demonstrate evidence of extensive cosmetic surgery.
Oh.
Again, that was supposed to be private. My personal mammogram does not need to have that. They didn't have to go and say that. What else does it say here?
Okay, so this is hilarious. I mean, you really personalize everything that we all go through as women when we go to get a mammogram. In fact, I'm so terrified of doing that. I didn't go in 5 years, and I'm somebody with a history in my family. I'm just petrified to even go there. I don't even want to get the results. The whole thing terrifies me.
It does. Mm-hmm.
So thank you for putting a human face on that. When you were a kid, did you want to be a doctor more or a performer?
I wanted to be Miss America when I was a kid. I was watching the Miss America beauty pageants, and I wanted to be Miss America, and my sister and my parents said, "You're too ugly." And so I knew then on I was going to have to do something to support myself. But I was the first person in my family to go to college because I got a scholarship to go. And even though I was going to go into show business, I was going to sing and do stand-up, there was no way I could turn down a scholarship to go to UNLV. And so I did that. And I always wanted to be a doctor as well. But my true love was entertainment.
So you must have been kind of funny when you were doing, like, I don't know, whatever you had to do in medical school on a corpse. I can't even imagine being in school with you and you're probably doing work on it and making everybody laugh.
Well, the hard part is, you would be 2 a.m. working on your cadaver and dissecting. And, we're always really, really respectful of the cadavers, et cetera. But when it really got hard is when other students were crying and studying for the boards and overstressed.
Ooh.
And so I would make funny stories about what we were studying for us to remember them. And the more graphic the story, the picture, the easier it is for you to learn the concept of leukemia or whatever. And so I got into the habit of that to help my friends, remember certain facts for their test. And I would also make stupid comments, in the back of class. I got in trouble a lot for certain jokes. But, there's a lot of humor to the human body. There's a lot of humor to medicine. And I think if you see the humor of that, it takes away a lot of the sad stuff that, unfortunately, we see.
So walk me through this. So you wanted to be Miss America. You were always a funny kid. You go to medical school. You're helping everybody through with a little bit of humor. And then you become what, a general practitioner?
Mm-hmm. So I went to family medicine. I actually, in medical school, I really wanted to be a surgeon. I had the board scores and I had the grades. But one thing that we haven't talked about yet is I was having a hard time finding a husband. The average guy doesn't like a loud-mouthed woman that doesn't look like Miss America. And so when I finally, found somebody who would marry me, after getting him drunk and, hog-tying him, he said, look, it's hard for us to have babies if you're a surgeon. And family medicine allowed you to have a family and allowed you to still do a lot of in-office procedures. And so I chose to do family medicine. And I am so glad I chose to do family medicine because you could take care of kids, you get to take care of grandma and grandpa, you get to take care of the whole family. Plus, I also did emergency room medicine in Arizona and urgent care, so I could also, feed my ER passion. And so being family medicine / urgent care allowed me to do so much of what I would have wanted to do in an OR anyway. So I was pretty satisfied from that standpoint.
And then you were doing, how many years were you practicing family medicine? And where were you practicing it primarily?
So after residency in Las Vegas, I opened up my practice in Las Vegas, Nevada, and that was in the year 2000. So it was right before the real estate boom, and there were not enough doctors. So we were flooded with patients.
Wow.
And I had my family practice for 16 years, and I recently closed the practice because my radio career has been so encompassing and busy, and I've been teaching medical students. And so my day's been so busy that it was really difficult to also see patients as well.
Oh, that's very difficult, though. You must have let down a lot of people when you decided to close down your office. Do you still take, phone calls from people and say, what do I do? Can you prescribe medicine? I mean, what do you at least see patients sometimes, even at the house?
No, I don't. It makes it really, really difficult to prescribe medicines when you're not, and that's a great question because I know a lot of my patients, it broke my heart. It really, really did. But, with the Affordable Care Act and a lot of the different changes that happened, insurance companies weren't paying. People had high deductibles. And if I hadn't closed my practice a year later, I probably would have been forced to close my practice because it's too expensive to run an office when insurance companies don't pay. And patients, they don't have their high deductibles to pay the doctor. And so it was something that I think my patients understood was going to happen anyway. They were surprised I lasted as long as I did since the changes. Because, a small neighborhood family doc can't make it on their own with the new, with the new changes. Even though changes had to happen, it's just, it's not going to be like the old family farm doc that, we kind of grew up with. Now it's going to be more corporate medicine. And so luckily my patients understood, and it's really difficult to prescribe when you're not also monitoring their labs and following up and checking their blood pressure. So we had to kind of rip off the bandage, so to speak. And it was heartbreaking, but my patients totally understood.
Let me ask you this. Today I was actually watching the news because, as you know, I know you're in Vegas, but we are in the middle of a monsoon here in Los Angeles. So I was watching the news because I wanted the latest on the weather, and up comes a commercial about a new health app, and you just go on it and put in your zip code, and you'll get a travel doctor. He'll just come to the door, which I think is great. And it says they take all insurance, and for $99 they come to the door and they'll treat you for whatever. I assume if you need surgery, probably not that. Yeah. But and I thought, well, this is great, especially for somebody like me who can't stand to get in the car and even go to the doctor's office. I start shaking. This is a good concept. I think medicine, you're right, it's got to change. However they do it, they have to change how they're doing medicine. And again, unless it's something serious. right?
Well, two thoughts on that. One is it's going to increase access to people who can't go to a doctor.
Yeah.
And $99 is a heck of a lot cheaper than what a lot of other doctors charge. So on one end, that's fabulous. The flip side of it, though, and this is the family doctor part talking, is when you really get to know a patient and you get to know them for years, when their color changes the slightest or you see a different look in their eyes, you pick up on it and you go, something's wrong. And I can't tell you how many of my patients, they came in for something completely separate. And I'm like, I think you got thyroid cancer. Or something's wrong. And then we find something wrong. They're like, well, how did you know? And, it's not ESP or my being a witch. It's, I've known you so long that something changed. So the only problem with that is as we do more telemedicine and doc in a box type of things, even though it may increase access and it may be more affordable, you're getting somebody that's only looking at a Polaroid picture of you and not looking at the whole 3D version, and things could get missed. So it's going to be a give and take.
Unless you can request the same guy or gal every time. I mean, I don't know. I didn't look it up or anything. I just found it interesting.
Yeah.
So here you are. You're doing family medicine for how many years before you closed?
16.
How many?
16.
Wow.
16.
And what was the arc? So then when did you start doing radio and all that? I mean, because obviously there's a big crossover.
Yeah, so when the recession hit, people were losing their jobs, especially in the casinos, in droves. I think every Monday, a new set of group of people would get fired. It was always happening on a Monday. And so my patients were losing their job, and they were still asking for advice, and I was like, that's fine, call me up. And then people who weren't my patients were calling me because I had done a lot of community service and public speaking, so people knew who I was. And so one of my buddies in radio said, there's really not a doctor on air that's funny, that gives medical advice. You should look into it. Well, nobody just hands you a radio show. You have to kind of start, work it up, and you have to buy airtime. And so as a community service, I'm like, well, let me buy a 1 hour a week, spot on a radio station and just give medical advice. Well, within 2 years, it exploded. We went national, and so by the time 2011, I think I was on XM radio and then later on iHeart, and it was, it moved faster than I expected it to be. And so we are,
Go ahead.
So we are just so excited that happened. But yeah, that arc, it really was a recession and people losing their jobs and calling for advice.
But you are very intuitive. Obviously, you're clearly the kind of doctor. When you were practicing in an office, when you show up, as you said, you could look into someone's eyes and see what's going on. You're intuitive and you're funny. And I think clearly, I know what it's like to be on the radio and television. People probably felt so comfortable with you. They would call you up and say, "Hey, I got a hemorrhoid problem and I'm embarrassed. What do I do?" Right? And immediately you would make them feel better. I'm sure you've had those calls, right? And by the way, I'm not talking about myself.
What helps is I would come in with my hemorrhoid pillow. So I would come in and sit on my hemorrhoid pillow, and they're like, well, what's wrong with you? Hemorrhoids? Oh, me too. And so when you notice your doctor kind of having the same issues that you do, it really helps. People are really anti-pharmaceutical companies. I have got to thank Pfizer with Viagra. Pfizer saved millions of men's lives because men didn't want to go to the doctor years ago. They never wanted to go to the doctor. And
what are you talking for about?
Viagra.
Yeah.
And they would send their wives in, and doctors like, I can't give this medication to you for your husband. He has to come in. So when men would come in asking for Viagra, we doctors would say, well, look, if you have blood flow problems down there, there's a chance that you may have blood flow problems in your heart, in your brain, because obviously all vessels, kind of are alike. And we picked up so many people with heart disease, such that sometimes you need to do unconventionally, we could get people into the office, figure out what's going on, whereas if they just waited for them to have chest pain, they'd be dead. So
this is great. Essentially, you picked up on something. I mean, if the blood flow is bad in the heart and in the brain, that's very often why perhaps they were having erectile dysfunction.
Right.
And good for you. Good for them. Think of all the men you may have cured. So, you deal with all kinds of things. So you're dealing with that. What about, you were talking to me the other day about getting high on bug spray. That's the latest thing that you've been talking about and covering with people?
Yeah, this is ridiculous. This is ridiculous. I mean, remember there was the cinnamon challenge and all sorts of stupid stuff that kids were doing to get high and buzzed? Well, now kids and adults are getting high on bug spray. Not only bug spray alone, but they are pre-treating their marijuana or their meth with bug spray to, I guess, augment the high. And this is so dangerous because bug spray, it's a neurotoxin. Basically, bug spray, they come from pyrethrins, which are in flowers. Flowers have these insect repellents. And apparently these pyrethrins biodegrade. So we humans in the lab make pyrethroids that we could put in Raid spray and all these other insect sprays. Well, people are using those insect sprays on their drugs. And in fact, some are spraying metal screens, heating these metal screens up, crystallizing the solution, then taking that solution, melting it, and injecting it into their veins. So we have people, I don't know why they're doing this. I don't even know how euphoric a buzz that would be, but they're practically killing themselves with neurotoxins. And, you know, blending medicine and news, it's something that I think is probably even more of a public service than anything I've ever done in medicine, because people don't understand what their kids or their, you know, colleagues could be doing, and it's frightening as heck.
Well, that actually scares me a lot because let's go to the underbelly of this. Why do they need to be doing this? I mean, is life so awful that they can't handle it? There's such a much larger question there. When you hear that people are, you know, injecting bug spray into themselves or putting it on their marijuana cigarette. I mean, I'm somebody, I don't drink, but basically I don't drink because I don't like the taste of alcohol very much.
Yeah.
And I don't do any drugs. I mean, it's difficult for me to even take an Advil. So I've always found it a little difficult to understand why somebody feels the need to do this and just check out. Because I remember being in college and people would do that, and the next morning they're all stumbling around and they couldn't think. And I'm thinking, how is this fun? When you wake up and you don't even remember what you did. If I'm having a great night of sex, I want to remember it. So
right, I know. Especially for me, it's so rare, you know?
Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that, actually. Really, I am. You're such a nice person. But we got to talk to your husband about this.
That's what happens. He doesn't like the moo-moo.
What? He doesn't like the moo-moo?
Yeah.
I don't know what to tell you. Just jump in naked one night and just see what happens. Surprise him. You know, pretend you're back on your honeymoon. Toilet water. You're talking about the toilet water in Los Angeles. This is one of the other things. People are calling you about the taste of the toilet water in L.A. Tell me about that.
Yeah, apparently, you know, California is worried about, you know, their water supply, and I don't blame them. I mean, I live in Vegas. I don't know why we're not as worried. California is always ahead of the game. I'm so proud of it. I was born in L.A., so as far as I'm concerned, I've still got California blood in me, still Valley girl. And apparently they did a test where they looked at recycled water, hence, you know, toilet water, versus other bottled water, and people like the taste. In fact, women seem to prefer the taste of the recycled water.
Okay.
And go ahead.
There's no way, I don't trust much that the government does anyway, but there's no way that they're going to tell me that they can get all the fecal matter out and all the crap that's in the water. It might taste okay because you don't really know what you're drinking, but there's no way that there's not going to be toxins in the water from the shit that you put in the toilet. I just won't believe it. I really don't.
No, I agree. But then again, you know, I drink bottled water, and I'm like, how do I know this is really pure?
That's true, too.
I mean, we assume bottled water is all clean. I mean, maybe bottled water is recycled with something for the taste. I mean, who's watching?
Look, doctor, we're all doomed. Let's just face it. Between the bug spray and the toilet water, I mean, it's over, really. Tell me what are some of the other popular topics that people have been calling in. I mean, also you deal with some psychological stuff. That you were telling me that people were calling in about Donald Trump Jr.'s affair. That's upsetting them as well? I mean...
Well, you know, it's you know, okay.
Does this surprise us?
Cheat,
wait a minute. Does this surprise us?
You know, it's just like with Jennifer Aniston and Brad Pitt. You know, people were just so shocked. And
I don't get this.
You know, for me as a doctor, thank God for Jennifer Aniston and her being as strong as she is, because when I would get patients coming in bawling that they were cheated on, and the cheater would blame the who was the cheatee, saying, well, you know, you gained weight, or you don't let me talk to you, or we never have sex. And I go, look, wait a second. First of all, it's not you. It's not your looks, because if Jennifer Aniston could be cheated on, anybody could be. So it's not your looks. It's not that.
Maybe she was wearing a muumuu too. You never know.
Yeah, I know. I tell you, we married women love our muumuus. And so, you know, I tell them, I go, look, you know, there are some people out there that they will really love you. They'll still love you, but they like to have their cake and eat it too. Or they love the chase, or they love the passion. And men are really at risk of feeling vulnerable to this, because when women have a baby, they're not the apple of their eye anymore, the husband or daddy. It's the baby. And, not being the center of attention really bothers a lot of people, and that drives them into the arms of other people. Now, I'm not sure what was going on with Donald Trump Jr., but very interestingly, Vanessa was pregnant at the time. And then they claimed that Donald Trump had cheated on Melania when she was pregnant. So when a woman is pregnant, it is a vulnerable time. One, because we're not that attractive. Two, we aren't having as much sex. But the big thing is our focus is on the baby, on the fetus. It is not on daddy. And so daddies feel left out. And a good daddy will stay put and keep it in his pants. A bad daddy will go into the arms of somebody like Aubrey O'Day. And so it's a shame that happened, and a lot of people feel insecure, but it happens, and it happens all too often.
Wow, that's terrible. I mean, look, in the case of Donald Trump Jr., look what he saw in his dad. I mean, it's just really, does any of that surprise you? I mean, really, all the stuff that's coming out about Donald Trump.
I know. They found genetic components, they've had, when it's people's priorities. And, but here's the thing. I assume most people cheat until proven innocent. I've seen so much of it. Women, too. I've just seen so much of it, and I think it's because we have a live-for-the-day attitude. We aren't as religious as we used to be. We're not as, I'm going to be betrothed to you for the rest of my life. And maybe also that's an obsolete idea in marriage. Maybe that's why we don't have that many people getting married, and we have so many people with, baby mamas and, relationships with other people and kids with other people, because maybe it's not really realistic to fall in love with somebody when you're a teenager and want to be with them till you're 80.
Well, I think
maybe that's not,
that's a whole different discussion. I do not disagree with you. I really don't. I think it's really tough. And I think when people weren't living as long, I mean, they got married and they had their kids and lived a little bit and dropped dead. So, I mean, I really wonder, is this really made for eternity? I mean, and basically religion is behind it, and, to keep keep things stable. But I think it's very, very difficult. I understand that. Out here in Los Angeles, I know a lot of women who have kids, and maybe their kids are growing up, and it's almost the opposite. When I talk to people, they're the ones who their eye is wandering a little bit, and I'm thinking, So, I mean, who knows? There's all sorts of reasons for this kind of thing, but it's tough. What else are some of the topics that you're taking on your show? Because I love how you take on a serious topic, but you can keep it a little light. You're able to blend.
Oh, absolutely. Like this Uber driver, this Uber self-driving car that killed the pedestrian in Tempe, Arizona. That is so tragic. And it's interesting because you don't see a lot of the news media cover it. Everybody's covering the Trump and the Mueller issues, or they're covering the Austin bomber, which should be covered. I mean, these stories should be covered. But I'm scared to death that we have self-driving cars that could actually run over and kill people. You know what's
worse? That's horrible. What am I saying? It's not worse, but now they're thinking of imposing self-driving trucks, that are hauling stuff from one part of the country to the other. Really? I don't want to be in a freeway next to that guy. I do not believe in self-driving anything. I think nobody should be getting in them. And it's a shame. This poor woman was, crossing the street? And of course the self-driving car is not going to detect her. It was dark out. It's really terrible.
Yeah, it is. And you know what? I would like to keep our jobs. I don't really like all this automation. We talk about that a lot on our show. There's this big push to have robots flip our burgers and other people drive our cars, and then our airplanes be automated. I am not getting in an automated
airplane. Pardon?
Oh, me neither. No way. Even if they give me a first class ticket, I'm not getting in that thing. And it's like, is it that they don't trust humans anymore? Do they think that our work ethic is that bad? And here we are, we're getting all excited about all these automations and self-driving things. And no, I want us to have jobs, and I would like a human to talk to.
Yeah, especially if they're flipping my burger. I'm going to be like, wait a minute, mister, it's not well done enough. Please take it back. I mean, you can't do that to a robot. They'll just stare at you and say, and here's your burger. So no, I'm with you. There's technology. It's great that it got us this far, but now we'd like to keep the people aspect with it, right? I mean, under no circumstance would I ever get in an airplane or anything for that matter that does not have a pilot in it. Now, I've read a lot about that, and they say, well, it's pretty much it's automated anyway. I'm like, give me a break. You still need someone in the airplane when something goes wrong to control it.
you need a commanding officer. And I understand the whole Germanwings pilot issue. That scared a lot of us. And that's when they really started to discuss, okay, you know what, let's just get the human element out just in case somebody wants to down a plane. But I think there's going to be more issues with technology and hacking and all sorts of other stuff than somebody deciding to go rogue. It's frightening. It really is.
Doctor, how many stations are you on?
I think we're on anywhere from 30 to 40. The rule in radio is every time you count, you start losing one. So I don't count, I just kind of keep my eyes closed. But we just got another KFLA in Oregon, so we just got a new station, and it's been pretty exciting. It's been amazing. My listeners are phenomenal.
Yeah, and do you have mostly male or female? I mean, you're so interesting and so fun. I'm going to guess that you've got sort of right down the middle.
Yeah, but we actually lean more towards men. We have a lot of male listeners, especially truck drivers. XM Radio, we have a lot of truckers out there. God bless you guys. You're the backbone of America.
They're great.
I love our truckers, and so we have we have a lot of police officers, a lot of first responders that listen to our show, veterans, and so it's great. And I'm also flirty, so it's nice to have a lot of men listeners. But yeah, we have a lot of women listeners too.
Well, you're just hilarious. I mean, you appeal to everyone. Talkers Magazine, that's the big industry magazine in the radio and television. They called you one of America's 250 most influential hosts. That must make you feel pretty good, huh? That's terrific.
Yeah,
that's
good,
a far.
Especially since it's only 249.
Yeah, but let's face it, that is a far cry from wanting to be in the Miss America pageant when you were a kid. That's who really needs that? Isn't that becoming outdated anyway? Miss America. Who watches that stuff anymore? Seriously.
I know. And I mean, really, I only look good in America. I don't also look good in Zimbabwe. Let me be Miss Universe.
There you go.
Miss America would not be good enough for me.
But hang on a minute.
Miss Universe.
Hang on. If you're Miss Universe, then you got to go over and talk to Donald Trump about that one, right? Doesn't he run that? Anyway,
I think so.
Tell everybody on our show how they can find you on the radio.
Oh, great. Thank you. Yeah, so find me at drdaliah.com, DRDALIAH.com, or on Twitter, Dr. Daliah, and or hanging out with Deborah. You are so awesome. Thank you so much for having me on your show.
I love your show. I love it. I think you're hysterical. I've heard you when you were on other people's shows out here in L.A., and I'd love to meet you when you come out this way, too. So I just think you're terrific.
Absolutely. I'll be the one in the moo-moo.
You'll be the one. Well, okay, I'll look for you in the moo-moo. Thank you so much, Dr. Daliah, for being here, and also drdaliah.com if you want to take a look at her website. And stay dry out there in Las Vegas, huh?
Thank you. You too. Stay
safe.
Wait,
one more thing before you hang up. Are you there?
Yeah.
Speaking of comedy, I'm going to plug myself while you're on the phone.
Yeah.
Here we go. I am actually appearing tomorrow night, that's Thursday, at Flappers Comedy Place, whatever that is, in Burbank. And I've never done this before, Dr. Daliah. Never, ever, ever a day in my life have I done this. I mean, I've done television for years and some radio, and I've never done stand-up, and I'm terrified, and I feel like I'm just going to fall down when I get up on the stage. And
no, you'll be perfect. You are so funny. You are going to be so awesome. I wish I could be there.
I do too. I wish you could just drive. Why don't you drive from Vegas to come watch me? I'm nervous as hell because performing in front of a live audience, and you would know what I'm talking about, is a lot different than talking in front of a camera or talking into a microphone. Because frankly, if I don't want to talk to you anymore, I could just get rid of you. So I'm doing this because there's a possible show I may be doing, and they're trying to get a little bit of the nerves out of me. So
You're going to be great. And again, it's the facial expressions and it's the body language, and you do that so well. And so when they see the whole package, they're going to love you.
Thank you so much. I'll be thinking, maybe I'll give you a shout out anyway. But thank you so much again for being on the show, and we will be in touch. And again, that's drdaliah.com and on stations everywhere. Thanks again.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye. That was fun. And thank you, everybody, for listening to another fun edition of Deborah Kobylt Live. We will see you next time, and I'll see you tomorrow night at Flappers.